And Indiana has done it. Their first ever Commissioner's Cup championship, knocking off the Minnesota Lynx. This is Howard setting up McDonald, knocking down the tray. Finds it, cutting McDonald, easy deuce.
Yep. I'm gonna say it. Caitlin Clark is the best basketball player in the world. She's the best basketball player that I have ever seen. She is the difference maker. She is the needle mover. She is the face of basketball right now.
The Indiana Fever were done. No Caitlin Clark, no chemistry, no chance. The Minnesota Lynx came in as the defending champs with an MVP frontrunner, home court advantage, and Vegas betting against the Fever by 14 points. Even ESPN had already written the headline, Lynx Dominate Fever. But that's not how the story ended. What followed was one of the most shocking turnarounds in recent history. A team missing its biggest star, abandoned by a veteran, and written off by the entire league didn't just survive, they dominated. They exposed egos, shattered narratives, and walked out with a trophy no one thought they'd touch. And just when the locker room celebration hit its peak, Caitlin Clark, still injured and on the bench, dropped 6 words that shook the league to its core.
The media, I felt like, mishandled so many things with the WNBA last season, and specifically with Caitlin Clark and her fan base. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark.
This isn't just a recap, it's the story of a team that refused to fold and delivered a win that changed everything. Heading into the biggest game of their season, the Indiana Fever weren't just shorthanded, they were unraveling. Caitlin Clark, the face of the franchise and the engine of their offense, was sidelined for the 3rd straight game with a lingering groin injury. Her absence wasn't just a missing stat line, it was the loss of their floor general, their momentum, and the main reason fans packed arenas nationwide. But Clark's injury was just the beginning. Overseas, Dantas was unavailable, competing in the FIBA AmeriCup, another blow to an already depleted rotation. And then came the biggest gut punch of all. Veteran DeWanna Bonner, brought in to add leadership and playoff experience, abruptly quit the team. After just 9 games, she walked away and got waived, cashing in on a max contract while refusing to suit up.
Wow, the Indiana Fever are just not fun to watch without Caitlin Clark.
Get open. 1 second left. Clark doesn't get the shot off. Cloud locks her up.
In a locker room full of young talent trying to find their footing, the person meant to steady the ship bailed the moment things got tough. Bonner's exit sent the wrong message at the worst time. This was a player who was supposed to set the tone, and instead, she set an example of quitting under pressure. Her sudden departure left the team not only shorthanded on the court, but shaken off it. And with their star injured, their veteran gone, and their depth stretched thin, the Fever walked into the Commissioner's Cup final looking more like a team in crisis than a contender. The timing couldn't have been worse. With Caitlin Clark out and the roster in chaos, the Indiana Fever limped into the Commissioner's Cup final already battling ghosts from the past few games. They had dropped 3 of their last 5 matchups, and it wasn't just the losses.
The Caitlin Clark show is very real, and Caitlin Clark's ability to rise to the moment and put on a show is remarkable.
It was how they lost. Double-digit leads vanished in the blink of an eye, ball movement stalled, offensive rhythm crumbled, and team chemistry, once their strongest asset, seemed to vanish without a trace. Without Clark orchestrating the offense, the Fever looked lost. Possessions slowed to a crawl. Players forced up bad shots instead of making the extra pass. Aaliyah Boston, one of the most dominant post players in the league, was being ignored on the block. Time and time again, she'd establish position, call for the ball, and watch as a guard launched a contested jumper instead. You could see the frustration building in real time.
Second-year players clearing out that side of the floor, shooting on Stewie, and then watch the reaction with one another. Stewie's laughing. Caitlin knows it's ridiculous. Just out there having a good time with.
The offense wasn't just inefficient, it was selfish. Hero ball replaced teamwork, confidence gave way to confusion, and all the trust the team had spent the season building seemed to unravel right in front of everyone watching. With Clark's voice missing on the floor and Bonner's leadership gone from the bench, the Fever weren't just struggling, they were spiraling, and this was the version of Indiana that was about to face the best team in the WNBA in a championship setting on the road. On the other side of the court stood the Minnesota Lynx, a team that didn't just look dominant on paper, but played like it every single night. They came into the Commissioner's Cup final with a 14-1 record, the best in the league, and a reputation for demolishing anyone in their path.
Number one of the greatest single half performances I've ever seen in basketball. I've fully watched all of Magic, all of Bird, all of Chuck, all of Jordan, Ewing, Olajuwon, all of them. It was one of the best halves. It was in the top 5 best offensive halves of basketball I've ever seen.
Napheesa Collier wasn't just having an MVP caliber season, she was the undisputed frontrunner. And now she was playing at home, backed by a sold-out Target Center crowd that smelled blood. This wasn't just any opponent, this was the defending Commissioner's Cup champion, or a roster that had chemistry, depth, and a chip on their shoulder. Analysts described their offense as poetry in motion. Ball movement, off-ball screens, fluid rotations, it looked effortless. Their defense, even more suffocating. They moved as one, covered gaps instantly, and punished every mistake. It wasn't just about talent, it was execution, discipline, and trust. Vegas gave the Fever a 14-point underdog spread. Most thought that was generous. Sports talk shows openly questioned whether Indiana should even be in the building.
You know, she better get back soon because out of sight, out of mind.
This was an unbelievable ass kicking by Caitlin Clark.
Commentators predicted a blowout. Even ESPN accidentally uploaded a highlight video titled Lynx Dominate Fever before the game had even ended. Everything about this matchup screamed disaster. The Lynx were locked in, complete and relentless. The Fever, by comparison, looked broken, wounded, and one game away from complete collapse. On paper, it wasn't a contest, but championships aren't played on paper. From the moment the ball was tipped, it was clear something was different. The Indiana Fever didn't walk into Target Center like victims. They came in swinging. There was a spark in their eyes, an edge in their movement, and a level of intensity that caught the Lynx and the entire crowd off guard.
3 threes in 38 seconds in the first half. Caitlin Clark hit 3 logo bombs, by the way. 3 logo bombs in 38 seconds. This was the Caitlin Clark we all said, oh, she's different. She's sent from outer space. The Caitlin Clark that we saw today was the Caitlin Clark that we were accustomed to seeing. Oh, it feels good, folks.
This wasn't the same hesitant, broken team that had stumbled through the last 5 games. Suddenly, passes were crisp, rotations were sharp, players were communicating, fighting for every possession like their careers were on the line. It was as if all the chaos and doubt had been flipped into fuel. Kelsey Mitchell set the tone early. She attacked the basket with no hesitation, drained threes with confidence, and played with the kind of poise normally reserved for veterans with titles under their belt. Every time the Lynx threatened to make a run, Mitchell responded with a bucket that silenced the crowd. Head coach Stephanie White's message rang loud and clear, one possession at a time. The team bought in completely. No one played for stats. No one looked for the spotlight. They played for each other. Defensive rotations were near perfect. Offensively, the ball zipped around the court until the best shot found the right player. And that player, more often than not, made it count. The Fever weren't just staying in the game. They were controlling it. With each quarter, their confidence grew, and somewhere in the background, the weight of every pre-game prediction started to collapse under the pressure of what was actually happening on the floor. This wasn't luck, this was dominance, and they were just getting started. If Kelsey Mitchell lit the match, Natasha Howard poured gasoline on the fire. From the moment she stepped on the court, Howard played like a woman on a mission. She didn't just contribute, she took over. On both ends of the floor, she became the anchor, the aggressor, and the difference maker. Her stat line told part of the story. 16 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. But the real impact went far beyond the box score. She was everywhere, contesting shots, grabbing boards, cutting through defenders, and reading plays like she had seen the Lynx's game plan before it was even written. She attacked the paint with purpose and drained all 8 of her free throws with ice in her veins. No hesitation, no panic, just surgical execution. But it wasn't just the offense. Defensively, Howard was a nightmare for Napheesa Collier. She matched her intensity, denied her space, and disrupted everything Collier tried to do. The reigning MVP frontrunner looked uncomfortable all night, forced into bad shots and careless turnovers. 5 of them to be exact. Every time the Lynx looked to their star for answers, Howard shut the door. As the game wore on, Howard's presence only grew louder. Her hustle plays turned into momentum swings. Her steals led to fast break points. Her rebounds killed Minnesota's second chance hopes. And when the Fever needed a stabilizer, someone to calm the chaos and own the moment, it was Natasha Howard. By the final buzzer, there was no debate. She wasn't just the best player on the floor, she was the one who changed the game. While Mitchell and Howard stole headlines, the Fever's victory didn't come from just 1 or 2 standout performances. It was a full team uprising, and it started with the bench. Sophie Cunningham brought a fire that couldn't be measured in just points. She racked up 13 of them, sure, but it was how she scored that electrified the team. 3 cold-blooded threes, 7 rebounds, and a level of energy that made her feel like a spark plug every time she checked in. Her timing was flawless. Whenever the Lynx looked like they might surge, Cunningham answered with a dagger from deep or a hustle play that reset the momentum. Then came Ari McDonald, a recent addition, barely settled into the rotation, and yet she played like she'd been part of the system for years. With 12 points off the bench and relentless perimeter defense, McDonald's presence was felt immediately. Her speed changed the pace. Her confidence gave the Fever a shot of adrenaline. She stepped in, filled gaps, and made it clear she was here to stay. Lexi Hull added her own quiet storm of contributions. Her shot making came at just the right moments, but it was her effort, diving for loose balls, fighting through screens, keeping plays alive, that helped set the tone defensively. She wasn't going to let the opportunity slip away, and she made sure Minnesota felt her presence every minute she played. This wasn't a night where one star carried the team. It was a performance where role players became difference makers, where bench players rose to the occasion and proved they belonged on the biggest stage. The Fever didn't win because they had the most talent. They won because everyone showed up. And the final piece of the puzzle, she never touched the court, but she delivered the most unforgettable moment of the night. She didn't play a single minute, but Caitlin Clark still delivered the most unforgettable moment of the night. Sidelined with a groin injury, Clark stayed locked in from start to finish, standing, cheering, offering advice, and leading from the bench like a true floor general. Cameras caught her fully engaged in every possession. While some stars disappear when they're not in the spotlight, Clark did the opposite. She leaned in, then came the quote that changed everything. Inside the locker room, with champagne energy and the Commissioner's Cup trophy in the middle of the floor, Clark looked at her teammates and said 6 simple words. Everybody in the league is sick. No filter, no hesitation, and just like that, she exposed the jealousy that had simmered under the surface all season. Whether it was the media attention, the fanfare, or the constant headlines, Clark knew it rubbed people the wrong way. And now, with her team proving they could win without her, she let it be known. The clip went viral instantly. The WNBA's biggest star hadn't even played, and still managed to dominate the conversation. Trophy in hand, smile on her face, Clark reminded the league that her presence doesn't require minutes. It just needs a moment. The final buzzer hadn't even finished echoing before the media scrambled to rewrite their narrative. ESPN had already preloaded a highlight package titled Lynx Dominate Fever to win Commissioner's Cup. Within minutes, it was quietly taken down and replaced. That one move said everything. No one expected Indiana to win, not the press, not Vegas, not even some of the fans. But the Fever didn't just win, they embarrassed the odds. The reaction across the league was immediate. Social media exploded. Players, fans, and analysts couldn't believe what they had witnessed. The defending champs, with home court and everything in their favor, got dismantled by a team missing its biggest star and abandoned by its veteran. Even Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve had no choice but to keep it real. Her post-game quote was short and honest. They just sort of beat us. No excuses, no spin, just respect for what Indiana had pulled off. And that respect was earned the hard way. This wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't a lucky night. It was a calculated, all-hands-on-deck performance that exposed every weakness Minnesota thought they could hide behind. The Fever didn't sneak out with a win. They took it loudly. And now the WNBA has to deal with the fallout. Because if Indiana can win like this without Clark, what happens when she's healthy again? The Indiana Fever didn't just win a trophy, they They sent a message to the league, to the media, and to every team that counted them out. This wasn't just about overcoming injuries or bouncing back from drama. It was about proving that heart, chemistry, and grit still matter in a league dominated by headlines. They won without Caitlin Clark, without DeWanna Bonner, without the media's support, and in doing so, they found something more valuable than a Commissioner's Cup. They found belief in each other, in their system, in the idea that no matter who's missing, they can still dominate. Kelsey Mitchell became the closer. Aaliyah Boston reclaimed the paint. Natasha Howard turned in an MVP performance. And the bench, they became the fuel that lit the fire. This team didn't just survive adversity, they weaponized it. And when Clark returns, the Fever won't just be good, they'll be dangerous. Because now they know they can win without her, which makes them even more unstoppable with her. If you're riding with Indiana, comment "I've got the Fever." And if you want more stories that cut through the noise, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next game might just be the next shocker.